So today is my day one in the office. It is a party which tells us that we must be able to be in the region. Of course, like I said yesterday, I want to retaliate that my first sincere appreciation go to the President for giving me yet another opportunity to work in his cabinet and to work for my country. The second one goes to Mama, the First Lady. I am privileged that the President has brought me to work under Mama, whom we all know. She's our First Lady and she's our Minister of Education and Sports. I am happy that I've come to the ministry, and I'm happy that I've joined the sector where I have passion. As a sports person, I have been a football supporter and fan for quite many years. And also, I love athletics and I enjoy other sports disciplines. So being here is entirely a privilege, and of course, I want in a special way to thank my brother and Honourable Hamson Obua, who is now my government chief whip, and our Mama for the tremendous achievements they have done for the sector ever since she took over and my brother Obua took over as a Minister of State for Sport then. For me now, what awaits me, of course, is to build on what the ministry has been doing to see how can we move forward. Because for me, I'm privileged that I've come in, like you must have heard yesterday, at a time that even in terms of funding, the budget for the sports subsector is almost about 47 billion, which is a one-off. I think it's the first time in the history of our country that we have the highest amount of money which is appropriated for the sports activities. What comes in now means that what does that money do? Because in my view, when we have money, it should also be able to help us to have results to be seen. So in various disciplines, I have just come in and I've sat in the office for the day one. I intend to hold meetings with the Department of Sports in the ministry here. Then after that, I'll work, see how I can roll it out, to have meetings with different federations to understand what they do, and also learn, appreciate the achievements they have registered, areas of failures, how do we improve to see that we move the country to the next level. What the country should now know, and mean to which I want to really make it clear to our people, and particularly the people of Uganda and the sports lovers. World over, the biggest paying jobs are sportsmen and sportswomen. We need to begin to accept that we must try to see how to professionalize on how we manage our sports activities in this country, both within government but also the private sector. For that matter, I call upon all actors and players. Number one, I'm here. They should come and work together. Number two, as government tries to do its best, I also want to call upon the private sector to come in to support the sports as a sector itself. If you look at other countries, the biggest investment comes from the private sector. And I want to say this without fear of contradictions. We have quite a big multinational companies here. It's now that they must also come in to support the growth of Uganda in terms of sports. For instance, let's look at our brand athletes. Cheptegei, Kiplimo. We have the young boy Victor coming in. We have had our young girl who was the third, who got a bronze. Then we have also a young boxer who got a bronze. Why don't we support, why doesn't the private sector coming to see how do we give sponsorships? Because these people have talents, which I'm sure it's just the beginning of their game. So, and then if you come to go to other discipline, it is entirely boxing. Like you all know, boxing has been one of the biggest, Uganda has been one of the biggest powerhouses in the region and even within the Commonwealth. But as of now, we government are trying our best. I still want to pull up on the private sector. Yesterday I was privileged to officiate on the launch of the Motorsport Africa. What I want to say this is that I thank the private sector because I saw about 4 to 5 companies there. I saw Mountain Dew, I saw Vivo Energies, I saw Stanbic Bank, I saw, of course, Spoke Resort Munyonyo. How I wish more could join on other disciplines. Because those are the areas I'm very confident. The moment the private sector comes in to support government, I can guarantee you we shall be able to move this country to another level. Let's talk about also football. You know, leagues are always competitive when the private sector comes in to support it. But now, we almost have one sponsor. If I'm correct, that's Star Times. But how many clubs have sponsorships from the private sector? And yet, the national team called Uganda Cranes. For you to get the best talent feeding into the national team, you must have a strong base of a competitive league. And that's why, again, I want to say this. As government, I want to call upon the private sector to come in to invest into supporting our talent. This is an area where we can be able to really, number one, employ our young people, many. Number two, shall take away the notion which people normally have. Sometimes these young people only like talking, but it's about our investment which we must really put into these young people. So for me, as the minister who is joining the sports sector, I am very committed to work with all stakeholders to make sure that we move this sector to the next level. Of course, with the guidance from my senior minister, I will at all times be consulting her. Like the immediate one is to see how do we begin to build on facilities. Because as the private sector comes in developed countries, of course the private sector even invests on facilities. But as government, we could be able to cooperate, work closely to see if there are areas the private sector can also help government invest on facilities, they are welcome. If there are areas where we government can be able to go ahead, we must work like that. So for me, what needs to be done now is how do we as government try to put in more efforts on improving on the existing facilities in all games. Because I've just been in Birmingham, I saw a lot of activities there in terms of games which were being played, and I was happy that some of them we can do better. Then the other one also goes to schools, of course. We must be able to reintroduce school competitions in most of the disciplines because that's the training ground. That's the beginning of identification of talents. It's at the school base. So that I am happy that I'm here in the ministry with my senior minister, our mama. We shall see how to move it forward. That we must reintroduce most of the disciplines. Like I've been seeing one or two, always a president of boxing sends me a lot of videos for European school boxing competitions. I don't know whether that still exists in my country here, but if it's not there, it's an area where we need to begin planning that how do we work with schools to really come in to see how we can invest, they can invest. Because what we need to accept, a talent is identified at a tender age. And once it's identified at a tender age, a talent must be guided, training comes in. Once that person is trained, then you can be able to have a world champion. And that comes a lot in terms of supporting. Like I've told you, the moment a talent is identified at amateur, professional, then now you go to further professional, I can guarantee you can now know that that has been a breakthrough. So if we can have those competitions at that level, in all disciplines, what I'm doing about, I only don't want to give it at one level. It should be in all disciplines. But this comes in again with support from the private sector. As government, for instance, there are many school operators which are under private. This is a fact. These schools, there are issues which I am up here. Some of my views are going to be shared at top management on how we must manage some of these issues, because these kids must be given opportunities to have them practice sports. I did it. I'm lucky, maybe I studied in only government schools, but it does not mean that we have no say as government. So for me, I am happy of coming, and I want to say that I'm ready to serve my country in this capacity. One of the projects which my predecessor did tell me to follow up closely was Terriet, but I also want to acknowledge that there were challenges into the management of the project. What was a challenge? It was not at education level. The Ministry of Education and Sports conceived the idea of building a high-altitude area. There was need for a road to be worked on to allow the contractor to have access in the high-altitude area. So the lack of a road delayed the performance of the contractor. So that cannot be attributed to the ministry. Despite money being there, which I want to appreciate that the ministry has tried its level best, and that one I want to commend Mama. So now, when it comes to what's taking place there, I recently, when I was in the Office of the President, particularly economic monitoring, I drove along the road and up to Terriet, because it was one phase project which I had intended to go and visit to look at how much work had been done vis-a-vis the investment which has been invested, put in place. I want to confirm that there is work going on, and on 24th, with due respect, I am going to be in Queen, and I want to pledge that I will be visiting Terriet as one of my first immediate activity to appreciate the work, what is on ground, to appreciate the challenges which maybe the contractor is undertaking there. But also I'll make a report which I'll come back and share with my immediate supervisor, which is our first lady, our Minister of Education and Sports. And we see, now that we have the road, we expect the project to be complete. And I want to promise you, once the rate is complete, believe me or not, that sub-region is going to be a superpower. If it is now, without us having a formidable training facility, what if the rate gets complete? It becomes one of the best facilities world over. And by the way, it will attract very many athletes from all over the world who want to come and train. And as government of Uganda, that's an issue which again might have to discuss in top management and see, will it be exclusively for all us Ugandans, or we should open up to the rest of the world to come in? And when they come in, by the way, that's post-tourism. It brings us money, which for me, I'm happy, is the way to go. That can even help us to have other facilities out of the non-tax revenue, which we are going to generate from that facility. So for me, I want to say I'm following that one up. I will. The other one, of course, is Nachivugo. Nachivugo, like, according to the handover report I got yesterday, I was told to pay keen attention to it, and I want to promise you, I'm going to follow up. My record on trying to follow up on performance of projects which are stalling is very clear. That one is one area which I'll need to understand, read the entire thing before I begin the course of action in line with guidance from my senior minister. Nambole is on course, though with the few challenges, which one of it, of course, encroachment. But again, I want to commend the First Lady, according to yesterday during the handover. If it was not her, I don't know whether we would be where we are today. So that also is an area where I'm happy that as far as we are concerned, special thanks goes to the First Lady, the engineering brigade, that as of now, they have fenced the perimeter wall. And all those who are encroached in Nambole, they are already inside. So we intend to move in faster to clear up, so that we have Nambole back to where it is. It is true, there was a delay in the release of funds to Nambole, the management of Nambole Stadium, but I want to confirm, as per the handover report, 81 billion has already been released to that project out of the 97 in phase 1. So I expect work to move on very fast, and I intend also to meet the management of Nambole Stadium to appreciate and see how far have they gone in terms of that project. Like you all know, we are using a private facility for all our competitions, which as of now, which is not good on the side of me who is in government. But nevertheless, that is the initiative I'm talking about. If we could get more people invest on sports infrastructure, that will be a plus for us as a country. No wonder you have Vipers FC being the first in the country, and they are the ones going to represent us at a continental level in terms of football. So that area is an issue which of course I'll follow up. And of course I want to talk about other regional stadium. I have Akibwa in Lira, I have Buhinga in Fort Photo, Bugembe here in Jinja, there's one in Mbale. We will work with the managers of football in the country to see how we could be able to visit some of those facilities. But I will call upon the private sector who are able. An investment in sports is an investment which can never go wrong. It's very expensive, but once it's established, you can never forget, you will reap it for the rest of your time. You can prove it from Kitende. When I was still in Parliament here, as a member of Parliament, and I was in the commission, I remember when we hosted the East African Parliamentary Games, we hired every game there as if we were paying almost a day, we were paying 40 million. You can imagine. So that's not little money by all standards in Uganda. That's almost about 11,000, let's say about $10,500, which is in one game. What if there are many more competitions coming in? That's a big investment. I'm aware of one Ugandan again who is building a stadium in Garuga. It's called Apollo. It's based in South Africa. I ever visited that facility also. So I call upon the private sector, let's invest. But corporate companies, my appeal to you, and as my first address is, please, can we come in to support government in our sports development? That's the most important thing. I intend to have meetings with all our gold medalists, all of them. It's one of the initiatives I want to have as a personal initiative to interact and find out. Because let's first appreciate, I have been to that sub-region today. If you're in Kapchora, Ukwe, Nobuku, early morning between 5 a.m. to 7 a.m., do you know what's happening? Young children are on the road. I thank government for making the best road, one of the best roads in that sub-region. Whom do you want to be like? Cheptegei. Whom do you want to be like? Kiprotich. Those two gold medalists I have become, and they will continue to be the role models of the many. So having these former gold medalists come together, and I intend to have meetings with them. Why? What challenges are they facing, which we in government might not know? That's point number. Very important, because we are dealing with a sector which we must understand its dynamics. Number two, how can we work with the government based on the experience they have to improve on areas, in my opinion, which they have more expertise than some of us who have the authority to manage their affairs on their behalf? Is an area also which I will definitely want to get from them. The other one is those partnerships. They are very crucial, because at the level of my brother Joshua Cheptegei, as he can as of now be able to pull any of the international athletes to come to this country by mere fact, because he already has established contacts. And the moment I have those, I need them to come into the country, because we have reached a level where we need some of our athletes who are beginning to go professional, amateur, to get to some of the facilities which we do not have here. A case in point is like I was in Birmingham, Adoli. I saw him run 400 meters. Adoli is an ex-Akibwa, if given facilities. I saw Adoli, he was the 5th. But now, why do I need the Cheptegeis? How can I have Adoli get sponsorship to be in areas where there are better facilities for 400 meters? How can I have Usain Bolt get here? Who can be able to help me have Usain Bolt is Cheptegei. Because even if Joshua wrote Usain Bolt an email now, I invite you to Uganda, he will come. The same way, if Usain Bolt wrote Joshua an email now, I invite you to go to Jamaica, he will go. So for me, I come in with a mind that, number one, we must see how do we build our data bank, how do we build a pool of our former professionals who are gold medalists to help be the ambassadors of the many young people who are out there in this country who feel they need to be like them. The other issue, of course, is like, for instance, you asked the question directly. I have come in, these are things which are not a one-man's show. Is it on table before me? If it is on table, it's for top management. If it's for top management, it has a budget implication. Budget, of course, as a ministry, we have to go to cabinet. Cabinet, then we come to parliament, which for me, these are positive initiatives which we must be able to commend, that we support them. Because I can guarantee you, those facilities, I am aware of Cheptegei. What? Not Cheptegei, the Kenyan, the marathon, is called Kipchoge. He's building almost a stadium in Eldoret. So, these are the things we need here, and that's why I call upon the private sector. Friends, I'm happy it's my first interview here, that while we in government are trying what we can, the biggest support I want to call upon is from the private sector. Come in, support our children, support our athletes. Uganda will be what we want it to be. And I'm not telling you, it's proud to be a Ugandan when you're winning a gold medal. But how much investment have we put in for those children? All of us, when they win gold medals, well, we are very happy. At your own level as a company head, what contribution are you making to support that gold medalist? And in all different disciplines. You can say our boxers, most of them we tend sometimes to abuse them. These are people who have failed in life. That's what sometimes we tend to have. But when they win a gold, a bronze, now we are associating with them. Can we take away that thinking and we begin to associate with talent from the onset, that these federations are there, and I intend to have time, with permission from my senior minister, to have a presser with all the federation presidents, that please, here they are. We intend to have maybe time, I will take guidance from my senior minister, if we could have a dinner or a luncheon with most of the corporate companies here and say, okay, feel free to choose from the many here, that for me, I'm going to invest in football. For me, I'm going to invest in athletics. For me, I'm going to invest in boxing. I'm going to invest in cycling. I'm going to invest in motorsport. It will be good. At the end of the day, we shall all be seeing goals coming in. And not about goals. We need to begin looking at hosting international events. This hosting brings in money into the country. Like, for instance, we have been in for Commonwealth. How much money did we take to United Kingdom? I just asked the question, even if 10,000 people were present, imagine of the 10,000 people, everybody spends £1,000. How much billion pounds have you left in that country? But how many of us look at that? We don't. That's why I call upon the private sector that let's look at the bigger picture. Let's not look at a smaller issue. It is big that we must look at facility. For instance, now in athletics, can't we have an international event hosted here? Football, can't we have international events coming here? We can't. Boxing, can't we have a Nambole, a Nashvugo, Kololo? Can't we have Kololo put us a big ring and we have big boxers coming in here? That's it. So these are things which I want to say, it's about partnering with the private sector. The president has always led in each and everything. That's a good thing for him. He looks at the future. And sometimes some of us look at our spectacles are not very far. First, I commend him for his love for the sport, and is the reason I'm here. Now it is now upon me to help him make it better. And now for me, I have different ideas which I want to propose. You allow me make deal with them, beginning with the formal way. which I don't want to discuss before you, the media, because I have ideas. If they are achieved and accepted by the ministry, they are going to address all the challenges, notwithstanding, which will make our states be very, very happy. To remind you, Commonwealth, Olympics do not have money. These are international bodies which countries come in, but if you won a gold medal, you don't get a prize. So most times, the superstars now intend not to waste a lot of their energy to enter into this. But look at the pride it brings to your country. So that's why now my ideas are entirely, how do we motivate a gold medal from Olympics? How do you motivate the gold medalists from Commonwealth? Those are the ones which I don't want to discuss before the media, because I want them to go through a process. Which process we shall be able to bring it formally to the country once they are accepted. But nevertheless, we must commend, like the president has always put this clearly to the people of Uganda. Even if you win a gold medal in Olympics, you have something which comes, and that addresses your question. Now, for you, this is it structural? Yes. The only challenges are those delays are there. It might be because of operational matters. How do we go forward? Allow me not bring that to the media. That is for now why I'm here in this sector. It is very simple. First of all, as a Minister of Education and Sports, we are the policy, we are directly in charge with the policy. Are you getting me? Because we are the managers of these schools. So that is one thing which is very simple, which I want to say. Some of these things have come in. These are the things which, as a minister directly responsible for sports, these are the issues which I will be able to say. How do we move forward? If there has not been law, or if it has been there, has it been followed? If it is not being followed, I am now ready to follow it up, so that we make sure that we have all the sports discipline get all over the country. Number two, let us also accept to have, the word that you want to use is, can we have these national teams get out of Kampala and go to the countryside? Yeah, we have a rugby union. I want to thank Nile Breweries. That's a private sector. They have been sponsoring rugby union. No wonder we're in for World Cup. No wonder you saw the seven season they performed recently in the Commonwealth. They went even up to Chile. They were beating countries in Chile. I want to say this. There are a few things which I will try to reorganize with the permission from my senior minister. But I'm yet to sit down here and put them in writing. For instance, these federations, my view is, it should be federations which are grounded all over the country. Yeah, because it should not be a federation briefcase based. Are you getting me? Can I have a federation move to Soroti, move to Amur, move to Oyam, move to Yumbe, move to Zombo, because it's not about being here. Now, facilities, can I work as government with the private sector? How do we, because if we could have camps in those areas for talent identification, it is much easier. But it's also true that the colonial times, colonialists, when they were building the great schools, they concentrated the facilities in those areas. Even me, where I studied from, there was no rugby pitch. But what I can confirm, a rugby pitch is almost like a football pitch. Unless otherwise, are they not having the same? Same. That's why you see in most of these countries, developed countries, they take away goalposts, they put in the posts of rugby, and they begin running there. So what we only need is, our problem is, rugby is so physical, but at the same time, it's about falling down. And sometimes our pitches are not as clean as others, but those ones can be managed. So for me, it's federations. I will meet them. Once I've met them, I want to say this, we shall come up with activities on how we intend to popularize most of this sports discipline across the board. And I should not only talk about those in school, because there are those who are outside school who are now determined to enter into these activities, and they are identified and they go and win gold medals. For instance, there is a big master plan of constructing a stadium in Buhinga, in Fort Photo, Akibwa, in Lira. Those two are in a different stage together. So that we shall be able to follow it up. But for different sports discipline, I want to confirm that I am here to move the achievements which have been registered to another level. That I want to pledge on behalf of my appointing authority and on behalf of my immediate supervisor, who is Mama, the First Lady, that we shall do that and we shall achieve it. I want to put it on record. Priority number one is for the sportsmen and women. If a facility is for hockey, it's for cricket, it's for name it, takes first priority. So in terms of balancing non-tax revenue, the generation of revenue to government is one which I'm going to sit down and discuss with them promptly. Like now you've asked that question, I am not a day old in this office. I will definitely meet the National Council of Sports. I need a brief, and how I wish I could also have some of those issues you're raising them in writing. It helps me to say, but okay, there is this case. How do I address it? You cannot tell me you chase away boxers. You cannot tell me you raise the money to make sure that you fail. The people who are meant to help your country get gold medals, a private service provider, which activity might not even be related to. So that I really want to pledge on behalf of government. I'll brief, I will meet them, get a brief from them. After I've gotten a brief from them, I'll come out and give it to the public and you, the media, because we must all work together to understand and appreciate where did we go wrong, and if we went wrong, have we corrected a mistake. If there has been a problem, definitely those are some of the issues which I will reverse. If I get the report, what you're telling me is what is being followed up. I want to play that some of them I will definitely ask it for guidance from my senior minister and reverse them and say, this takes a priority than this one. And that's it. I want to again say this. All facilities which are existing as of now going forward, I intend to move and check on all of them. Checking on them means that I must have reports. How have they been performing? If you've been collecting non-tax revenue, how much? Who is the service provider? Which source has that money been going? Because the good thing I've been in the area of checking on how government money is spent. So, and no one can play around with games with me on that area. Very, very well. So, I want to promise and pledge on behalf of my senior minister and my appointing authority that if the money has been going to the right source, if it is very expensive, we don't ask government. We are not profit making. I hope I'm very clear there. We are not. We have to have facilities to encourage, invest more, not on profit making, but for the development of talent. And at the end of the day, that's why we are government. I can guarantee you today, a young man can go to play football, even if it's in the lower league in England. How much money will he be paid? Even if it's £10,000 per week. Who here in Uganda is paid that money in a week? So that's £40,000 in a month. Who in Uganda is paid that money? Nobody. Nobody is paid that money. So talk about cricket. If you get a professional cricketer who qualifies to go and play in either England, even South Africa, or even in the Indian League, or Australia, how much money is he paid? And they are paid per week. So why don't we look at putting in facilities which help us generate more of those, and would have solved the problem of unemployment here? Like my brother said, you don't need to be someone who has studied. That's why we want, as government, we are appealing to the private sector. Can we have you invest in these facilities all over the country? Look at the love people have of football in Lira. I'm meant to be in Dr. Bote to close the post-primaries. How many of our clubs today are there picking up talent? Oh, it's now a ritual. How many clubs are ready to invest in young people? This is the problem. And that's why I call upon the private sector. For instance, I want again to thank the man of Kitende. He has a football club. Why can't we also have others who have athletic clubs? Why? And I'm going to call upon him. Why doesn't he help us also establish an athletic club, which helps us to look at winning gold medals? Because he has put in his passion of football. But he has left out another gray area, which I want to tell you, athletics, with our powerhouse, we can be able to do well. You saw my brother Cheptegei, he won a gold in Oregon. How much money is that? There's a calendar of athletics. There's a calendar of football. There's a calendar of boxing. These are things which we must accept to move with the world. And I'm happy, I'm informed on what's happening in the sports sector all over the world. And I want to promise the young people of Uganda that there's a reason why I've come here at this specific time.